Okay. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So wherever guys are joining for this the wonderful session. So Indian Cloud Security Summit 2025. So I'm welcoming you all. So hope you enjoy so far all the session. So far so good. And so end of this session, end of this day, there'll be like a virtual for this one day event for the have a winning prizes. So you can answer the questions and you can win the excited the prizes here. This is really the usual stuff in our session. And before start with that, I want to thanks to the team and organization, organized team and the committee and sponsor for the wonderful opportunity. This is Shandaba Pandian. So I'm a director data and AI, role on software consulting services, Private Limited UK. So here it is morning 9:15. So I hope you guys are so if you're in India, you already finished your lunch and other stuff. So it'll be good. The session today, I'm going to talk about the enterprise's data governance and risk mitigation at a scale using Microsoft Purview. So I think most of us like very familiar with the Microsoft, the components. That's really amazing one. And with respect to these, the data governance, is I would say that these Purview is like the playing the major role the many years, and still they are enhancing the skills, futures, and then the lot of what are the challenges they are facing, they're faced, and they are what's that like they're able to manage and to fix that issue, and then they're upcoming with the new other features as well. So in the session, before we get into the detail, let me go through that overview of that the data governance, what and why the stuff, and then we'll go to the next slides. So the data governance actually ensures the organization accurate, the consistent data, secure our responsibilities to help the organization. So if we say few years back, let me say like 5 to 8 years before, there won't be anything like a data governance, data quality. I mean, the data quality we talked about that, but the data governance aspect, like never mind about that because we used to handle that like a data, getting the data and doing all the data analytics, all the stuff. So after this, the advanced data analytics in terms of um, machine learning, data science, and then AI, all the aspects. This data governance it's came into the picture very deeply, and every organization they have to go through that. They want to establish the data governance body in that every organization. So because they need the quality and security and compliance of the organization data, because who should access the data, how we need to access the data, and how the data is going that the way of the channelizing. I mean, when the data is moving around, as you know, right? So in olden days, we have used like just legacy system, getting the data and like displaying there. And hardly we used to go for something like the report, that's it, report, monthly report, weekly report, or like yearly report, something like that by using crystal report, all the aspects. But when the data it started playing a major vital role, this data governance come into the picture because the data should be accurate and it should be accessible and protect across its life cycle. So otherwise, the data will be the data. There might be data issues, the data accessing of that really challenging one. So why we need that? Basically, the data governance is a matter. Basically, it improves the quality, of course, and it improves the what's the compliance. Yes, because the country like yeah, UK and Europe, so mostly like they started using GDPR, HIPAA, and PI. There are so many the compliance they have. So we need to adapt that. And this specific the framework, and they are really aligning with that, and they make sure that the complete the GDPR and HIPAA things are implemented in each and every uh, production scope. Even for my experience, so when we are going to the any deployment, whenever we are talking about like even the small piece of data, I mean, like even if it is going to be kind of a agile way of 2 weeks of release, so we used to get the GDPR perspective sign off from uh, the actual compliance team, make sure that we are not using any customer name, any other sensitive data we are moving into the system during that production. So otherwise, they were not ready to give the goal. I mean, like approval for the move to the production. And at the same time, it's to like make sure the security and privacy aspects. That's what I said. That's the accessing point of view, and enabling the better decision making. So this is the another way around. Once the data is clarity, and what the data is like it's making the quality, and it's like the availability of the data, it's be like strong enough to queue the data. So all the aspects make sure that the specific the things like a decision making, it's like were really high drive and insight and strategy perspective. It's helping that we have that. But even though we have data governance point of view, if you implement it, then that really enabling the better decision. The problem accountability. So here, each and every stage of the data, they will be assigning the information of assigning to that the responsibility to the team. The next slide talks about like what are the different roles are available. Let's talk about that later. And supporting scalability. Really, it ensures that the data process reliability and sustainability organization growth. Because earlier we never mind about collecting the data and like mean even the need not collecting the data. Just the data is coming into the system and we are storing the database. That's it. But when we started about like extracting the insight from the data, after that we have to focus on the quality and the privacy and the security aspects. So we are very strong enough to build that. This diagram actually talks about like completely what are the major pillars with respect to the data governance. I don't want to go in detail in that. Let me go next slide. So with respect to the data governance, so we have a multiple role based on that the organization level of the organization level. It could be a small or medium, or it's like a super size, maximum size. So in that case, we can have that the different roles, and then definitely we should have the proper data governance, and the data governance body has to connect on bi-weekly stages, or else like based on monthly status, so based on the demand. But definitely we have to do that. But here we have a CDO, that's a chief data officer, and here we have so many rules and responsibilities focus on that. And the data governance council, so the council is a major thing. Actually, they have to find out like a policy oversight and collaboration. Policy aspects, I want to say that who can access the data and what kind of data they can access. So that level, so we have to decide and we have to design the data governance, this framework, basically any organization. And coming to the data owner, we have, and we can have the data stewards and technical data stewards as well. We can have, because we have like a business perspective, and the technical aspects means that we have to segregate the data stewards, and sometime the same person can play as the data stewards the role as well. And the data custodians, like basically those are like taking care of mainly like the backup and system maintenance and all, right? So we used to have IT teams basically. So those guy has to take care of that. That's going to be a custodian, and the privacy and compliance officers. So they have to ensure all the country respective. They have to ensure that like GDPR, HIPAA, and PI, all the things actually how their policies handled. So there are so many things actually 3P, and we have to say like there are so many layers for that. But it's like really like beyond that limit for the session, given limit session, so that better you can keep that way. And meta and catalog managers, or else we can have the straight away program manager. So these things basically make sure that the data governance body healthy, and definitely giving the quality yeah, feed to the organization with respect to data governance. Okay, cool. So why we need the data governor in the data governance Microsoft? Because the Microsoft introduced Purview a bit long back, but we people have started using. We are sometime actually we are given suggestion to the customer saying that why don't you like use the Purview, because that is additional cost. We know that because the everything in Azure we have to like pay as go, so they may not have that budget. But obviously, one point of time, the customer they started understanding why they need the Purview for that. Because earlier we used to have the data dictionary, and we used to have a simple Excel sheet saying that like what exactly that what data, and in the data dictionary we used to maintain like the all the metadata perspective, and then we used to say the what is it, what the table we have, what that field we have, and what kind of data we have. We have a simple Excel sheet in the like along with our deliverables. But after this data governance with respect to the Microsoft Purview, most of the projects are we are giving a suggestion to that, like better we can implement, you can along with that our all other components, how we are using ADF, but IDF and some what is that, the other components like Azure Databricks or Synapses, and whichever required for the implementation, that's mandatory. But on top of that, to implement the scalability and the security and privacy perspective, so definitely we can have the micro purview. But nowadays, the most of the customers, they are ready to accept, and they're planning to like they're asking initially when we're doing the design, architecture design itself, they're asking, so are you planning to bring the data governance like a Purview, Microsoft Purview as the component, going to integrate everything tightly coupled, so that we can find out like a where the data is going, what kind of data changing, how the data is changing, all the aspects, so we can track that way. So that's the reason actually nowadays the most of the customers that are pretty much matured on that. So, and additionally, the Microsoft also the providing a lot of features, so that really helps for us a technical team, for us as well as the functional aspects, like the customer also like getting benefit out of it. Right. So the growing need of data governance. So here the challenge in the modern data management. So that's because 90% of the data actually, which is most of the data which is actually last 2 to 3, 4, 5 years, I would say, the data generation and data like the generated data, it's become very fast, as well as like so we have started playing around with the structured unstructured data across the on-premises and cloud and SaaS platforms. There is keep going on. Still, actually, now we are recording this session. For example, this is also actually we are in a day, let's say like 30 or 40 the sessions going on. So think about that. Like every the presenters, they're giving the presentation of 45 minutes. So everything is recorded. So obviously the data, the explosion of the things are pretty much high, isn't it? So that's going to be data exploration, and the regulatory process. So regulatory pressures is very important, because nowadays all the what is it, like even the government bodies as well, like they're insisting we have to implement all the compliances like GDPR, HIPAA, and CAPA, and then the PI regulation, technical regulation rules, and they want to maintain that across. Even sometime actually they're coming and giving audits. For example, there might be sometime there is a audit for regular audit to they're coming to the system. They're checking that what kind of data we are storing and what kind of data we are processing, and where we are getting the extraction of the data, whether are we really not exposing any sensitive data to the public. So that's the thing. And security risk. So insider threats and data breaches and unauthorized access demand, all very important, because nowadays actually the data, how the technical technology is growing, along with that, like other way around, the data leakage and the other things also is going very like seriously, so that the data security, so the security risk also there. So when anything is going very faster, it could be quite interesting as well as quite dangerous as well. So that we need to take care of those the data management, the modern data management challenges. So what are the consequence of the poor governance? So if you're not doing that, of course, data breaches, it was happening in the many years, but nowadays actually people are planning like they have a pre-planned thing, so that they're arresting that the breaches and all, and compliance fines. The failure of to meet the regulatory standards like a GDPR, HIPAA, they're putting the compliance, because actually, as I said, the specific separate body, they're coming and doing all the audits, and then they're giving you like suggestions. If you're missing that anything, they're giving you like what's that, like fine. It's a kind of like millions of fines on the data which we are like not ready, and like unfortunately it's got leaked, or it's misused, or like it is hacked by someone. So that is taken care of. We have to do any organization. So if they figure out any points over there, then that's going to be the failure of to meet the regulatory standards. Then they come up with the compliance fines. And operation inefficiency, yes, that's going to be a time and resource wasted and inconsistent, inaccurate data. What will happen if the data is going to be like inaccurate data? Ultimately, the data will be like error data or inconsistent data, and if we are going to figure out any like insight from that, then obviously that's lead the what's that, like not exactly the insight. On the same time, we are going to make any decision. For example, we are going to make any prediction or like forecasting or any other classification model you're designing for ML. So that ultimately what will happen, that's going to be a cracking the system because the data is not a right data. And same time, loss of customer trust, obviously. So if the things are is not going good, obviously customer trustworthy will be like going down. And we need to take care of that, the things, and the department is isolated and preventing the data and integration of collaboration, because the between the different departments. For example, if you have the finance and we have the um, if you have the finance and then the marketing and sales and risk, all the different departments, they will be isolated, so that ultimately what will happen, actually these people, they used to say complying with them, the finance team, not the data has been like leaked, so that we are not ready to align with respect to the sales and marketing. So the complete collaboration or enterprises level data fine tuning, that perspective, that it will be a very dangerous issue when we are not following the proper governance. So the core components in which the Microsoft, like it's going to be a unified data governance. That's going to be a data map and the catalog. So any cloud solution automated the data discovery and captures the metadata across on-premises, multi-cloud, and SaaS environment. So such a beauty, which is with respect to the Purview we have, and data security aspects. Actually, we can prevent that identity, protect the sensitivity of the data, end to end, like file sharing or like whatever the data is come across with the different layers. So that also be like we can take care of with respect to that the data security things. And risk and compliance, and that's risk compliance perspective, like the what we used to say, like the data cycle management and compliance manager. So these are like combining with, as we discussed earlier. I don't want to go very detailed. And of course, the AI powered features also, like nowadays the Microsoft introduced everywhere. So integration with the Copilot, so that even in Azure environment as well, like straight away we can connect with the Copilot. We can raise the questions how, if you want to deploy anything. So no need to like go through any other documentation, any other articles directly. So with the help of the Copilot, so we can ask the questions, and we can like communicate what exactly we are facing, the issues or suggestion or anything. So the Copilot inside the Azure environment itself, like helping us to understand what and how we can do that. So the no other goal, that's definitely the Microsoft Purview is like giving up the major advanced things as well. So here the key features is automated data discovery and classification. It's like it's a fine tuning the scans and classify the sensitive data, of course. So we need to handle the carefully, and then it uses the AI to identify the label critical data and reducing the manual effort to ensuring the compliance. As I said earlier, right? So we used to maintain the Excel sheet. Then we have to take care of that, how we are going to handle that, like it's going to be critical data or non-critical data, we need to identify. But by using those things, actually it's AI can identify based on the training, it can identify the critical data and reducing the manual effort. And data lineage, metadata management, it's a very important with respect to the Purview, because as we want to understand how the data is changing over the period of like in the journey of data, like collecting and up to like extracting the insight. So it tracks the data from the originator that and transform to the end-to-end visibility. So we have a nice features of like what's that, like UI. So from there we can understand where exactly we are. So that's a very important thing. And then a role-based access control. Yes, as you know that like with respect to the Microsoft Azure, so we have a very clear role-based control, role-based access control. And here as well, we have yeah, very detailed things like so who can access, how can access all the information, at what level they can access, everything we can do it. But yeah, we can do that. And integration with the Microsoft ecosystem. As I mentioned earlier, so if you're going to implement Microsoft 365, Azure Synapses and Analytics, and even the Power BI, Fabric, ADF, and then Synapses, so whatever it is, it gives the option you to integrate with that. Because for each and every the components in the entire the architecture, we want to understand what it's doing, why it is doing, or we want to understand what is that how this is accessed, how this has been changed. If we want to do that, we're just in one place, that's not at all enough. So we want to understand everywhere. So the interesting point here, even the Power BI as well, so we can do it. And fantastic thing is actually Microsoft Fabric, everything is there. So we have all the sophisticated the facilities which is like embedded in this into the Microsoft Fabric. There also actually the Purview is integrated, so that so we can it's going to be use the one shop kind of stuff, so we can utilize that. And same way for it's going to be a streamlined interface access and governance security compliance tools, which like because actually this is a robust one, right? So Microsoft is easy way to do that, the configuration and all, we can do it properly. And risk mitigation with respect to the Purview, yes, it's going to be a protective data security and preventing a data loss and inside the risk management we have, and we have a compliance and audit things we can do that. So with the compliance and audit point of view, so we once we configure the system, then automatically the system will generating all the compliance everything, and so we can one shot we can go and see that reports. So how it's going, and we can figure out where we are on with respect to the risk aspects, so that if basically like in any components with respect to the Microsoft Azure, so we have the monitoring and auditing things. So especially with the Microsoft Purview, so we have a robust feature so that we can figure out how the data is securely managed throughout the journey. Right. So here it's going to be, as I said earlier, Microsoft Purview is a data map is the first, the very most important the space, and the this is going to be a foundation for data discovery and the governance. So the data discovery, as I said initially, we used to have something. A simple Excel sheet talk about like a data dictionary, because I remember when we are doing all the most of the project, the data dictionary, the file name itself used to provide the project name and the release name. So we have to mention data dictionary folder we have, and we used to put that. But once this kind of like a data map which is available, so we can easily connecting and configuring the details like of the data journey. It is very easy, and it captures the metadata. Yes, we can, because when we are using with the data dictionary for Excel, even they used to have the technical data and metadata also we used to present. But with after this the Purview comes up in the picture, the data map is help us to like finding that metadata as well, like along with the actual the core data. And the data map is stays up the data with the built-in scanning and classification system, that is a robust the functionality, and the Microsoft Azure provides the accounts to have the data that starts with the one unit capacity. Because when we are using anything, we have to be very careful, isn't it? So we want to set up 1 minute, I think yeah, yeah. So implement in, I think this should be in the upcoming. Okay, fine. So with respect to here, so we can figure out this is common screen. So there you can figure out how much the data used, the data map capacity, because with respect to the Microsoft, everything is based on the unit, as you know, right? So how much are you using, that much you have to pay as you go. Like that's going to be deducted from our credits. So the similar way here. So we can figure out, it's a very easy way. So in Azure environment itself, so we have obviously we have a monitoring tab, so there we can see that the data map capacity, how much we have configured, how much the data storage size we have defined, and which is very flexible way of configuration, so that it will give that the complete detailed capacity on hourly basis, or like the or less daily basis. So how much we want, we can do the changes, and we can update whatever we want to do that. So that's a fantastic options with respect to the data capacity. It's one of the major thing, but it's don't bother about that straight away. Once you started utilizing that, it comes along with the Microsoft Purview environment directly. And here we have the facilities what is that, like the chart. For example, if you want if you want to build a different chart, so that also possible with respect to this one. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think this should become before that. So anyway, so here, so we want to set up that is a basic setups. It's going to be like setting up the basic configurations and connecting the source. Obviously, what source we are going to connect, and we have to mention that like assigning the roles and owners, everything. And mostly the infrastructures engineer take care of that, because we used to give the detailed list of the people those who are using for development and for the testing, as well as like a supporting team. So supporting team, after that, like moving to the production. But when we are doing the development, we used to provide who is going to access what. So by the time who are doing that the data, for example, my data engineer will do all the access means, so that person can do we can use ADF, or else like the synapses, or it's like a Databricks, whatever the things we are using. So that completely what are the actions he is doing, then that will be captured detailed way. So Purview can help, and that like how the data changes and who has done that, and how it's transformed from one stage to another stage, everything will be captured. So that's a thing actually, the roles is assigned, and we need to setting up the monitor and optimization. That is the main thing. Okay, right. So here the catalog. Earlier actually we as the catalog, Microsoft catalog, the Purview earlier versions like kind of catalog. On top of that, actually Purview has been established. So basically, this is going to be a goal of Microsoft Purview to unified catalog, not only provide the platform of the governance to build the business value, because actually we need a catalog basically, right? So we have to have that, what are the different tables we have, the data sets we have, and all the stuff we want to understand, when we are implementing any project, any data related project. So this specific, the future will help us to understand a unified way of even the data is collected different sources, so it be able to understand, make sure that the what's that, organized way of these things. And nowadays actually there are AI powered search options we have, and governance based exploration, and then a safe access of data protected, all the aspects. Actually the recent the versions of Microsoft Purview is enhanced, and it helps to make sure that the data access, data creation and discovery, and the data health and understanding. These are the major principles with respect to the catalog. So we can differentiate these different access, different principles under the data governance. So we can go and find the data health of the data health, and then the data discovery point of view, how we can do that and understand the data, all the aspects. So we've unified the catalog, so that we can understand how our data is organized. That's a very important thing. And after the data map and catalog, that's a major thing. It's going to be a data lineage. That's a fantastic one. The data lineage is a broadly understood that the life cycle, as I said earlier, as I've spanned data originated from where it from the moves in the might be we use a staging layer. So how it is going to be changed, and when the data is going to be storing in the final stages, so that it can be able to clearly monitor where the data is moving across the different data estate. That's a main objective, main the essence with respect to the Microsoft Purview. And it uses the different kind of the backwards looking scenarios such as troubleshooting, tracing root cause in the data pipeline, and debugging. Because mostly we want to understand the data. If I want to change one data to X to Y, and Y to Z, if sometime I want to like go back like where it happened, but earlier before coming to the Microsoft Purview in the picture, we may not know where. We know like exactly we changed X to Y, X to Y, Y to Z, but where it happened, how it has happened, and we want to track the information, means that really tedious process. But now, clearly, by using the Microsoft Purview, we can identify where it happened. It's like something like the kind of a CCTV camera with respect to the data engineers, right? So who has done what has done the data completely, we can understand that. And same time, the lineage is also used to data quality and compliance and what if scenario, often refer to the like impact analysis. So when we want to do the impact analysis, so that's also like the feasibility, but we want to do a lot of exercise on that. And here the lineage is represented visually, so that the people, as I said, like Microsoft is really every time when they're coming to the market with any product that's user friendly, they're able to see that the outcome very straightforward. That's a main benefit out of it. And given the complexity of the most enterprises level data environment, these issues can be hard to understand without doing some collaboration, consolidation or masking, of course, because as I said, it's going to be a single department. It's going to be what I would say, marketing, sales, and what is it, like marketing, sales, and accounts team and finance team, and then a risk team. So if you're taking care of the individual data and we are doing some implementation, that the way is totally different. If you're going to look at the enterprises level, mean that's really complex. So when we are going with that, then it's going to be completely the so many things lines comes up. For example, if you look at the tracks, so multiple tracks actually, I mean, like the railway tracks is going, like if you look at that, we don't know the train in which track, but the drivers know definitely which track is supposed to take and where you want to go. But as a user, I'm sorry, I mean as a passenger, so if you look at that, when you're watching the stations, but we are really complicated. But we have to make sure that the proper consolidation, and we have to make understanding that then enterprises level environment also it's feasible with respect to Purview. So this is the simplest view of this one. Here actually the data, the journey of the what's it like Power BI, okay, and connect the data processing, storage, analytical systems. Let's say what is the understanding of here? This one, the source systems feeding data is going to be a sales promotion system and Twitter, DB, and accounts. See, when I look at this image, directly I can understand this is going to be the first thing is going to be a what is my feed. So from that, I can understand where it is going. And same time, these feed into the customer 360 logical data set, and then it's going to be a Power BI data set and customer 360, and going to be a so it's clearly mentioning that like the any if you know the basic no, the English like reading capability, so ultimately we can figure out like where it is going, how it is going, and finally where it is launching. So here you can see that the Power BI, the URL, so the data is going in such a way. So this is a fantastic one. But when we are doing like a normal Power BI implementation, through the data is like doing all the stuff and deploying to the Power BI. So by the time we don't have like the where its journey is started and how the journey is ended. But with respect to this, the detail of the Purview, the view of lineage, exactly we can figure out where it is. Not only for Power BI, it provides us so many options with other um, lineages as well. And so here, exactly what is being functional demonstration, end-to-end of lineage, visibility from the raw data, like it could be a CSV file or SQL DB, whatever it is, to Power BI reports, and it shows the data flow and transform across the system. So the any person, anybody can understand if the technically like if but obviously should have something basic understanding of the data, but they can enhance things with the help of the lineage. If you're not nothing about like a data, what is doing, what is doing, which looks like something connecting the dots with the blocks. No, but when you are like really have the knowledge on that. So, for example, if you look at that, this one, it looks like a you can see that what is that like the small icon which represents the SQL DB, right? So from that way, actually, we can figure out like what exactly happening, how these things are going. This is the simplest one, but when you're going the enterprises level and like the applications level, it's going to be a really tedious process. But we can break down, we can see that one by one. That's the major advantage. And here, the metadata tracking we have and governance enablement also here we have, and it helps the mainly for traceability and compliance and trust of analytical. So each and every stage, like we can understand how it is doing and where we can do that. At same time, here as well, the data column lineage. See, for example, this is another features with respect to the lineage. So here we can find out like what are the columns, how it has transformed during the journey. As I mentioned, like if I have the, let's say my column, my field is going to be A, during the journey it's going to be XYZ, then we can figure out by using a data column lineage features. So straight away we can figure out like how it's working. Okay, so I don't know go through each and every line and item like which I put it over here. Okay, so this is the one. So we can figure out like the data lineage columns figures, and let's say these are all your columns. When you are moving around your the cursor, the ultimately the highlighted. For example, if I highlighted the sales order ID, then you can figure out like in over the journey how it has transformed, where are all like it's stored, and how the things have happened, what is happened to my actual column when the from the originated the column to the destination. In case it could be stored in multiple data storage, or it could be like changes somewhere. So all the informations we can figure out with the help of the this one. Now this is the additional feature. They just like if you want to understand only selected features, because most of the what is it like the quality or less like audit purpose, what the auditor used to say, the data quality audit or data governance audit, they used to pick up the specific the column in the when we are connecting with when we are when we are doing our data projects. They used to ask us, go through these are the set of the columns and tell me what happened to this specific column in your journey. So by the time we can configure such a way what are the column, because when we are doing all this transition, then there might be 100 columns or 150 columns. It depends, right? So in that case, we have to select only the specific column. Then we can explore, we can tell them these are the things. Let's say for example, this is outcome. Let's say it's going to be 110 110 or 150 columns, say for example. So if once you configure, then we can see that all the details over here. That's the main thing. We can use this for the data column lineage. And what are the other things are there with respect to this the lineage point of view? If you are connecting your data factory, yes, of course, your Microsoft Purview can capable of being finding that lineage, and what are the transformations happen throughout the journey and in the ADF as well, and the fabric as well, as I mentioned here, and as well like a Power BI. There are so many features are there, but predominantly mostly we are using, because if you're doing ETL or ELT job, whatever it is, then mainly we are using like we used to go ahead with what's that ADF. Microsoft Fabric nowadays actually we are giving the proper guidelines to the customer why we want to go to the Fabric, all the aspects. So definitely there also we can utilize. And Power BI, end of the day, like if you're going to like giving the data to the data analytics, building the Power BI, and there we are doing any other changes change, and we are doing that purpose also. But list is very limited here given, but it's really the list is very huge. So wherever the data is going, and we can figure out the lineage. It's a completely CCTV camera with respect to the data aspects.
Shanta,
So all the
time,
things.
5 more minutes left. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, almost done. Yeah. With respect to this, the best practices, definitely like so we need to organize the metadata and collections of streamlined governance, and we have to enforcing the multi-factor authentication and conditional access to the privileged account. As I mentioned that in the earlier this second slide talks about um, different roles and responsibilities. So that's going to be the insiders, and sometimes it's going to be outsiders. Means like when the data product is going to the cost. I mean, like public. I mean, the end user. That also like we have to take care, and it's going to be a limited right access to minimize the accidental or intentional data losses. Mostly, we used to restricting that any limitation of data right access, and a regular review. Of course, as I mentioned that like once we form the data governance body, then at least monthly they have to connect, or it's like a minimum like a quarterly they have to understand what they are doing and how they are doing. Why I'm telling? Because some person like moved out of the organization, or the one person moved to the different department, from one department to another department. So they have to capture their where they are moving. So they have to take care of their access, and removing the access, all the aspects actually we have to take care. And scalability support, yes, of course, support of the multi-cloud and everything it's supporting, and auto scaling. The data map is like capable of like right, whenever that we are feeding that the columns and everything, automatically it's scaling up itself by own. So no need to like go back and enhancing it, increasing the size or whatever it is. So such a scalability features which is available over here. And these are the fantastic the use case studies which has done, like a financial institution enhancement compliance. They have started using like the Purview, and the healthcare provides the secure patients data. So integrate the Purview with Azure automation protection to protect the patient's record, significantly reducing the data breaches and improving the patient trustworthy. That's very important thing. And the other examples, we have a global, this is commonly available, but on top of that, actually, I worked on multiple things like a pharma industries and retail, and then banking and financials. There also they started utilizing the Purview. And the future trends perspective, like the AI and machine learning, predictive and AI driven insight to find out the any also to enhance the risk detections. They're going data quality management. They are planning to implement. So it's going to be a simple configuration that's going to help us to like what is it like figuring out the data quality of management point of view, and the expanded data AI expanded AI governance, like a futures to like the AI hub track the AI activity and ensures the compliance and generative applications, like the AI itself finding that any blocks or any other unauthorized access happening inside the Purview, so that in the system that will tracking and give it back to the Purview, and we can generate that. And of course, like a border integration, it's integrated with the Fabric, Databricks, and then AWS, Snowflake, or other aspects. And there is a regular release, as you know, right? Microsoft, like they're not stopping anything like straight away. So it's keep on enhancing their features, and our lives is make it easier on day-to-day activity. So this is a robust one, but given timeline of 45 minutes, I'm able to cover this. So feel free to connect me. You can find me in LinkedIn. So I'm Shantabhav Pandian. So if you want to reach out or you want to discuss any further discussion, happily I can help you. And once again, thanks for the sponsors and organizer who are given a great opportunity me to like connect with you during the session.